Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today, I will be reading this new release that just arrived at my door, The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I'm going to be doing this and just that all night tonight. I finished working, so from now on until I'm done, I will be reading it and updating you as I go. Every complaint, every positive, all will be shared with spoilers. I'll mention whenever I feel like I'm getting into the spoiler section, and I'll include a spoilery free review portion at least at the end, so you can check that out if you want. But if you want to hear all the tea, just keep on watching. I have actually nothing better to do tonight because 2 days ago I managed to break my little toe. Which, who would have thought corners were that hard? But luckily for me, my favorite color is purple. So I'm gonna get ready, comfy, and start reading this book. If you don't know, on my channel I've been vocal about my relationship with Riley Sager. I really enjoyed his first book. I'm going to put my ratings on the screen. I really enjoyed the first book, and I've been reading all of his books one by one since then because I stubbornly want to love one as much as I liked the first one. And unfortunately, it's been hit and miss, and the last one, Survive the Night, was a big miss. It was the only 1-star I gave last year, so like a big miss. But I'm hoping that this might be the one that changes everything. And if I give it less than 4 stars, I will be done forever with his work. I'll be more vocal about the ideas if they are similar in this one than from the rest of his work. So let's get to it because I have a whole book to read tonight.
Staring out the window, reaching for a North Star, waiting just to wake up from this nightmare where you could be right back in my arms.
Okay, so I read the first chapter and I remembered a little bit what it was about. I tried to forget before, getting to the book. You have this neighbor, and I'm assuming she's going to be an unreliable main female character, as he tends to write them. And like, one of my issues with his female characters, I wish he would write a male character once, is that he relies very heavily on them being like mentally unstable or like dumb. Like in Lock Every Door, she was so dumb, in order for the story to stand. And in this case, she is the, kind of nosy neighbor that watches them through the windows, apparently even snuck into their house. And she is also drinking in the first chapter, so I'm assuming that that's going to be how she's supposed to be unreliable, which I feel like it has been done a ton, but it can still be something that works depending, right? So in this case, the wife of one of the neighbors disappeared, and she believes that the husband did it. And the first scene is the police interrogating her, and she says that she doesn't know where the husband is because he disappeared, but turns out he's upstairs in a room and she's questioning him. So like, that's the first like 5 pages. So I'm intrigued. I feel like I'm realizing why I read his book, even though I've liked most of them. The writing just flows very quickly, which is something that is a must for me in mystery thrillers. Gotta say, the cover is gorgeous too, and let me include that because in between chapters you have this gorgeous page, which is a really, really nice touch. So yeah, I think that's part of reasoning of why I keep reading his books. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, because unreliable main female character that is an alcoholic is a thin line for me. So I just started chapter 2, and it's like in the past, and she's drinking heavily. I'm getting really strong vibes of like Woman in the Window, which we'll see. So in the past, I mentioned how the author struggles to write decent female characters, believable ones, which I feel like editing should be enough to fix that. But like, for example, page 25, the main character is retelling how she saved Catherine's life, the woman that disappeared, and that she notices that she isn't wearing her wedding ring, but she was drowning in a lake. Why would she be wearing her wedding ring? Which woman would be wearing her wedding ring in a lake? I feel like, again, that's something an editor should have caught, because like, I'm assuming this is important for the plot, but it doesn't really make sense. Okay, so on page 52, 53, and once again, I feel like the female character doesn't make sense. So she's at the lake spying on the other neighbors through binoculars, and there's this man that just arrives there, and apparently he's the handyman from the neighbor's place, whatever. And he tells her, well, if you get lonely, And she's grieving her husband. She's drinking because of it. And she's like, I noticed tone, pitch somewhere between friendly and flirtatious. Hearing it is surprising, but not unwelcome to someone like me who's watched way too many Hallmark movies. Is it me or it doesn't make sense? It's just weird to me. Like, she doesn't know him. He shows up at her place. She's alone and she's like, yeah, neighbor. So Catherine just fainted as they're all getting drunk. And it's starting to sound like maybe her husband is giving her something, or at least that's what's being implied. I don't know if the narration is unreliable because it's from the point of view of the main character, right? And she thinks clearly from the first chapter, if she has kidnapped him, that he's responsible. So maybe Tom is drugging his wife. Maybe. So we now have a motive, page 80. Catherine says, Tom needs me too much to agree to a divorce. He'd kill me before letting me live. And like a page or two prior, she was saying how she's the one that has the money. Basically, her husband doesn't have the money to do all the things that he likes. So, including owning a gigantic house on a lake. So I guess that's the reason that he possibly killed her. I'm wondering, it doesn't feel like, usually Riley Sager often had like the whole like, is it supernatural or not kind of vibe in his books, and this one doesn't seem to be like that at all. So it's different, at least from his usual stuff, but let's see if it's good or not. I don't know if Catherine is playing a role because she thinks that Casey's looking at her through the windows, because she implied that she would if she were in her shoes. But the whole fight with her husband is just suspiciously, it's looking like acting. But again, I don't know if it's the writing or if it's the case or not. The author is relying very heavily on the main character not understanding social media because she's not into it, because Tom said that Catherine went back to New York after she had heard a scream throughout the night after the fight. And because she saw a picture on Instagram, she believes that it's true that she's back. Like, even if she wasn't into social media, would she really believe that that would be enough info to believe that? I don't know, but her cousin went to check and she's not there. So, like, at least there's that. But, like, it's the constant reliance of weird things that makes this character just not believable. I don't know if this makes me an awful person, but I'm at page 130, and Boone, the sexy neighbor, just talked about how his wife died, and because he's an ex-cop and she fell down the stairs, my first thought was, did she? I mean, the rates of domestic violence are pretty high with cops. So on that note, maybe I'm awful, maybe I'm just realistic, I don't know. So the police officer Wilma told her and Boone, because they know each other, they used to work together, so she told them that 3 other young girls disappeared around at the same time that basically Tom was in town. So it's becoming bigger than just Catherine disappearing. How much do you want to bet that it's Catherine killing people and not Tom? That would make it a bit more interesting, I guess. Okay, so I just had my break, had dinner. And it's getting later and later, but we're gonna push through and finish this book, hopefully tonight, very late. I'm at page 180. I just got started again, the first chapter, and we're back into the present, and Tom is admitting to being the one responsible for killing the 3 girls that disappeared around the lake. Well, not that lake, lakes surrounding the area. So he hasn't admitted anything about Catherine yet, but I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. Clearly, you can tell by my face. It's fine. It's just not good enough that I want to read the whole thing tonight. You know, normally I would have put it down a while ago and just read a couple pages every day kind of thing, but I'm halfway through, so. Okay, so I'm the worst with any kind of romance in books. It is a fact, but the whole, oh no, you have ice cream on your face, let me remove it with my finger tenderly. It's a cringe automatically for me. It's a no. No thank you. And like, oh, I think that's what he says because my heart is beating too fast. No, we're not doing that. Why? Maybe he's going to push you down the stairs too. Boone did it. Boone's the killer. See? Did I not? I mean, I didn't say he was going to be the killer, but I did say he pushed his wife down the stairs, so like, close enough, right? I still don't know That hasn't been confirmed, but I'm fairly sure he pushed her before going to work. I just finished, what chapter was that? There's no number, but page 219. Tom might not have done it. Tom is still a dick, though. So, it is paranormal? Earlier I said so confidently, well, now it's not paranormal compared to his other book. There's always that, is it not? I take it back. I take it all back. So apparently now, Catherine is the person she held this whole time. So props for the author for at least making me question who it was. But to be fair, can you really guess something whenever it's supernatural out of nowhere? Probably not. So yeah, I feel like I can't expect myself to guess whenever it turns out that Catherine is being possessed by the spirit, whatever, the soul of her dead husband, Casey's husband that died in the lake. But then right after it's revealed that she already knew that her husband killed these other girls. So maybe that's why she was drinking, and that she killed him. So like, I'm not a fan of a big piece of information was hidden from you the whole book kind of thing. Like, I would have preferred her not knowing. I don't know. We'll see how it ends, but like, I'm at 260 and it just, the last like 10-15 pages, like just a bunch of information that was thrown at me, and I'm just very confused right now because of course I didn't see it coming, which I don't mind, except for the whole I hid from you, this big piece of information the whole time. Let's see if the last 100 pages fix things, because until like the last, again, 10-15 pages, I was getting a little bored. So let's see if it goes up or down now. The next chapter explains what happens, how she put antihistamine in his glass of wine 3 times. And then they went on the water. He confessed whenever she confronted him, and she pushes him in the water and stuff. And I can't help but be disappointed. There's like almost 100 pages left, so I'm hoping something else is going to happen, because again, the whole point of the book, you know, that sentence made no sense, but you get it. I'm just hoping something good will happen, but the possession and then this is kind of just weak. Is she really going to untie her dead husband possessing Catherine's body? How dumb can you be? Just because she feels guilty that because she killed her husband, nobody can find the bodies of the 3 girls he murdered? Really? This is what I mean by a story relies on these women being dumb. That's what the last 100 pages is going to be about. Like, I don't have an issue with, I'm sure it can be done well, the fact that like she killed her husband and we didn't know the whole time. I don't think it was done well here. At least I doubt the last 100 pages will change my mind. And like these like sci-fi supernatural elements happen towards the end. Like, there's barely a hint of it in the beginning. It just feels cheap. Again, I'm still hoping the last 100 pages will change my mind, but like, I'm staying up late to read this and I'm not really feeling it. Okay, so I don't know if I'm being petty, but at 296, Len in Catherine's body, whatever, says that he's in a lovely body and he's sure it would make his life pretty easy now because he's a sexy woman and he's staring at his boobs. And then the main character, Casey, is just like just really pissed because easy women don't have it easy. It reminds me of the like trying to be woke that happened in Home Before Dark. It just, once again, doesn't ring true. Like, who's having that conversation right now? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like if it weren't for the fact there's like, I don't know, like 60, not even 60 pages left, and like I'm filming my reaction to video, I would have DNF'd the book at this point. I'm done, but I'm going to finish it out of sheer stubbornness because it is my last book by the author. So we're finishing it, and then I'm going to bed. And never reading some Riley Sager ever again. So let's talk. I finished a book. It is very, very late. So the spoiler-free portion, let's talk about the summary. You have this woman who is an alcoholic. She lost her husband a year prior. She's technically a famous actress, but she isn't doing well. She's hiding because she showed up drunk to work, got fired, and now she's like hiding at this cottage where she would go with her whole family every summer. And it's surrounded by a lake. And because she is bored as hell, alone, she is drinking and spying on neighbors living in the house across the lake. And she ends up becoming friends with the woman that lives there with her husband. Suspicious things happen. She starts wondering if the husband did something to her friend. And that portion of the book was fine. Like, I don't really like the trope of unreliable because she's a drunk. It has been done many times and I just never really end up enjoying it. But that portion was fine. The rest, unfortunately, that I need to mention are spoilers, and it kind of, well, not that the book was great to begin with, but it definitely ruined it completely. I'm going to name one of the things in a vague way if you want to hear like a spoilery section that isn't fully a spoiler. Like, it is, but not really. So I'm going to give you the spoiler. I'm going to put spoiler on the screen, but I'm going to keep it vague at first if you just want a hint of a thing that is a big pet peeve of mine that happens sometimes and I don't like it. But if you don't want to hear it, this is it. Essentially, there's a big chunk of information that isn't given to you throughout the majority of the book. And like, if that's the way that you decide to make your character unreliable, it bothers me because of course you can't see it coming because this big thing was not told to you the whole time. So that's as vague as I'm going to get. Now I need to discuss the spoilers because I didn't mention the ending yet. And I have plenty and yet nothing to say. I feel like this was like 2-3 different ideas of a book shoved into one. Last second, the focus made on like supernatural, which like sure it's mentioned a little bit whenever they have the little party at her place, but it's so vaguely mentioned, and that it becomes the whole thing that her husband is possessing Catherine after she almost drowned. This whole portion is so weird, and yes, sure, I can appreciate how I kind of went back and forth not knowing who did it, thinking the cop did it, which frankly still don't trust him. I don't like that she's dating him at the end. Why is he always trying to match his characters to douches every time? Yes, the whole supernatural portion was kind of weird. I did like that at the end, turns out that Tom was trying to poison his wife. Cool. But like, once again, it was just like last second twist that also added the whole supernatural portion. I honestly, there were just too many things going at the same time. And frankly, I'm still not even over the fact how the main female character made no sense so many times. Like, I don't think I mentioned it in the vlogging portion, but like when she goes into Catherine and Tom's house to spy, she's judging him for not cooking and like eating frozen burritos. And she's like, I would never do that. While she's drinking bourbon all day, every day. And like, it's mentioned twice that she has grilled cheese for lunch, but she's too good for frozen burritos. It is just such a weird little detail. And like multiple times there's a moment like that. And it's just so confusing as to like how this, and I'm still not over the whole ring thing because I'm pretty sure every woman I know that wears like actual like jewelry that is nice would not wear it in a lake. They just wouldn't. So yeah, I don't even know what else to say. This is probably maybe a 2 stars. Maybe I'm gonna need a couple more days to think about it because it's currently almost midnight and I need to go to bed. It took me longer to go through it than I expected because the last 100 pages I had no interest. I was so close to DNFing it, and I'm glad I finished it because now I can complain about everything because the whole supernatural portion was so bad. I feel like if it had been one or the other, it would have been better. It's the fact that you combine the whole drunk and then hid a whole chunk of information, the fact that she killed her husband, and then you add the supernatural last minute. If it had been more present, maybe, and then the fact that her husband, you know, murdered these other girls. It was just too many things, and it just didn't like blend together nicely. I don't know. I'm very curious to read some reviews on this now. I'm gonna, well, do that tomorrow. Now I'm going to bed. So yeah, I'll talk about it more in my wrap up, I suppose, at the end of the month when I have a couple more days to think about it. But I'm not impressed. I'm done with Riley Sager. Frankly, just for the female character, I'm done. If he writes a male character, maybe I would check it out, but I'm just tired. Very, very tired. So I'll see you in my next video. Bedtime for me. Bye.
Kiss on a cheek or loving just like